Listen to me carefully, because right now, at this very second, your brain is trying to protect you, but in reality, it is digging your grave, and you don't even see the shovel in your hands. You look at me and think you know what this is going to be about. You expect another banal lecture on how to save money on lattes or set aside 10% of your salary, but you are mistaken. And this mistake is costing you the life you could have lived if you weren't so hopelessly blind. You're afraid of the word debt, aren't you? When you hear this word, your pulse quickens, your palms sweat, and images of debt collectors, bailiffs, and shame before your neighbors pop up in your head because you've been trained like Pavlov's dogs to react to this stimulus with fear, not calculation. But what if I told you that this fear isn't yours? What if this fear was implanted in you intentionally so that you would never, do you hear me, never be able to lift your head above water? You think that by avoiding loans you are safe. You take pride in owing nothing to anyone. You wear your financial virginity like a badge of honor. But allow me to rip those rose-colored glasses off your face and crush them with my boot. Your safety is an illusion. It is a cage that you locked from the inside, throwing the key out the window because you were convinced that monsters live outside. But the real monsters aren't the bankers. The real monster is your own biology, your caveman brain whispering to you that preserving the little you have is more important than risking it for what you could have. You think the system is rigged against you, that banks want to drive you into bondage, and there is a grain of truth in that. But the biggest secret being kept from you is that bankers despise people like you, not because you are poor, but because you are predictable in your cowardice. You think you're smarter than the system because you don't borrow? You're an idiot. You have simply refused the only weapon that could level the playing field in this war where the enemy has nuclear warheads and you have only a penknife and moral superiority, which won't buy you bread. I have seen empires crumble and fortunes created out of thin air, and I know one truth that will make you sick. People like me don't just not fear debt. We crave it. We hunt for it like predators for prey because we understand the fundamental error in your code. You believe that debt is a subtraction from your future, a black hole sucking in your income, and as long as you think that, you are right, but only for your pathetic reality. For us, for those who understand the arithmetic of reality, debt is not a minus, it is a multiplier. It is Archimedes' lever capable of turning the world upside down, but you are afraid to touch the lever because you fear it will hit you in the forehead. And you know what? It will. It will absolutely hit you and smash your skull if you touch it with your amateur hands without understanding the physics of the process. And that is exactly why they tell you don't get into debt. It's an instruction for children so they don't stick their fingers in the socket. But you're not a child, or am I mistaken? You think I'm talking about risk? No, I'm talking about time. Time is the only irreplaceable asset, and you, in your infinite ignorance, sell your time to earn money instead of using money to buy time. When you refuse borrowed capital, you agree to linear growth in a world that lives by the laws of exponents. You're trying to fill a pool with a teaspoon while we use fire hydrants connected to someone else's water supply. Do you feel this dissonance? Does it seem like I am contradicting everything your parents, school, and those smiling internet gurus taught you? Good. Let this dissonance burn you from the inside, because it is there, in this fire, that your illusions burn down. You thought debt is when you work for the bank. What monstrous stupidity! In the right hands, debt is when the bank works for you, when a giant financial machine, soulless and cruel, becomes your obedient slave, hauling stones for your pyramid while you sit in the shade and drink cold water. But you can't see this because your vision is clouded by morality, which has no place in mathematics. You attribute ethical properties to money. You divide it into yours and theirs, clean and dirty. But money doesn't give a damn about your feelings. It obeys only the laws of gravity and flow. And here's a twist you didn't expect. You think that by paying off all your debts, you will become free? I'll tell you what happens when you give the last cent to the bank and become crystal clean before the system. You become no one. You disappear from the radar of opportunity, because in the world of big money, trust is measured not by the absence of debt, but by the ability to service giant, monstrous amounts of borrowing. You strive for zero, thinking it's the top of the mountain, but zero is just zero. It is emptiness. It is the absence of potential. You are running toward a finish line that is actually the starting line for those who truly understand the game. You thought the enemy was outside, that it was interest rates, inflation, crises. No. The enemy sits inside your skull and is whispering to you right now, "Turn this video off. Charlie is crazy. He wants to drive you into a pit." But ask yourself, if I'm crazy, why does my bank account look like a phone number and yours like change from a grocery store? Why do you, being so cautious and correct, feel constant anxiety, while I, playing with fire, sleep like a baby? The answer is simple and terrible. You fear the tool because you don't know how to use it. It's like giving a monkey a machine gun. It will shoot itself. And society, knowing that you are a monkey with a grenade, forbids you from touching the weapon, calling it financial literacy. They call it protection. I call it the castration of your potential. You live in a world where you were sold the idea that poverty is noble and debt is a sin. But this is a lie invented to keep you a compliant workforce that will never dare to claim a share of the pie. You think you've understood me? You think Charlie Munger is calling on you to run to the bank and take out loans for everything in sight? If you thought that, you're even stupider than I assumed, and you better leave right now because it's only going to get more painful. I am not talking about mindless consumption. I am talking about a concept that is inaccessible to your understanding until you break the slave within yourself. You are standing on the edge of a precipice, and I suggest you don't step back, but jump, not down, but up, using gravity against itself. Does that sound impossible? Of course. For you, it is impossible. For me, it's Tuesday. Your whole life is waiting for permission that no one will give you. You wait until you save up, until you become more confident, until the right moment comes. But debt is a time machine that transports the future into the present. You can take the result you would have obtained after 20 years of hard labor and get it today, right now, if you have the courage to sign a contract with the devil. But here is the main trick that will make your head spin. In this contract, the devil is you. You yourself create the conditions under which you either win everything or lose your soul. And most of you lose not because the conditions were harsh, but because you didn't even read the fine print, which says that the rules of the game change the moment you think you've won. You think debt ties you to a place? Oh no, debt is the only thing that can give you wings, provided they are made of the right material, but your wings are made of wax and fear. I look at you and see not people, but lost opportunities, graveyards of potential overgrown with the weeds of common sense. You are proud that you don't take risks. I despise you for it. Because the biggest risk in this world is to live life the way you were told, and in the end, realize that the instruction manual was written by those who wanted to use you. Are you ready to learn the truth about how to turn this poison into medicine? Or will you continue hiding under the bed, hoping the economy won't notice you? Let's descend into the basement of your financial reality, to where it smells of dampness, fear, and expired hopes. And I guarantee that what you see there, you won't like. But you must look at it if you want to survive. You think the problem is that you earn too little? What naivety! You can earn $1 million a month and remain a pauper. And I have seen such people hundreds of times. They wear expensive suits, drive German cars, but if you cut their financial artery, what flows out isn't blood, but obligations. We are talking about toxic debt, about a cancerous tumor that you yourself, voluntarily and with a song, implant into your wallet, considering it an increase in the standard of living. You call it comfort. I call it suicide on the installment plan. You walk into a car dealership, and a smiling manager greets you, offering not a car but a dream, status, a feeling of power on the road, and you, intoxicated by the smell of new leather, sign the papers without even reading them. In that moment, reverse alchemy occurs. You turn your future time, your unearned money, the hours you could have spent with your children or creating something great, into a piece of metal that begins to rot the second you drive out the gate. You think you bought an asset? You idiot. You bought a liability that, like a vampire, will suck the juice out of you every month, demanding insurance, gas, repairs, and, most importantly, interest for the bank. But here lies the real horror you are missing. You think you are paying for the car with money? No. You are paying with pieces of your life. Calculate how many hours you need to sit in a stuffy office listening to your boss scream to pay for this piece of iron that will turn into a rusty pumpkin in 5 years. You are exchanging your one and only life for garbage that will eventually end up in a junkyard. Isn't that the definition of insanity? But let's dig deeper to where it really hurts. Why do you do this? You think it's your choice? You think you really need that new phone where the camera is 1 megapixel better than the previous one? No. You have been programmed. You are a lab rat in a marketer's maze, and they know where the cheese is. They hit the most vulnerable spot, your ego. They say, "You deserve this," and you, like an obedient puppet, nod your head and pull out your credit card. You buy things you don't need, with money you don't have, to impress people you don't like. This is the classic formula of poverty, but you have elevated it to a cult. And here's where it gets interesting. You think the bank gives you money because it trusts you. Oh, how mistaken you are. The bank doesn't trust you. The bank counts on your stupidity. To the bank, you are not a client, you are an asset. You are a cash cow that needs to be fed just enough so it doesn't die and continues to give milk in the form of interest. When you take a consumer loan for a vacation or a wedding, you are effectively selling yourself into slavery, but the chains on you aren't iron, they are digital, and they are much stronger. You rejoice that your credit limit was approved. You celebrate it as a victory. It's not a victory. It's the length of your leash. The higher the limit, the further you're allowed to walk from the doghouse. But the collar remains in place. And here's a twist that will make your blood run cold. You think the worst part is the interest? No, The worst part is the lost opportunities. Every dollar you give the bank to service your toxic debt is a soldier you killed with your own hands instead of sending him to war for your freedom. You destroy your army before the battle even begins. You create a vacuum filled with anxiety. Have you ever woken up at 3 in the morning with the thought that if you get fired tomorrow, your house of cards will collapse? That feeling is not accidental. It is the price of your comfort. You're living on a powder keg and smoking a cigarette, hoping it will blow over. But the math is relentless. Sooner or later, a spark will fall. You think you control the situation because you can make the minimum payments? That is the sweetest lie you whisper to yourself before sleep. The minimum payment is a brilliant invention of the devil. It is designed so that you never, do you hear me, never pay off the body of the debt. It is running in place until you collapse from exhaustion. You pay, and the debt amount barely decreases. You become Sisyphus pushing a stone up a mountain, only the stone is your iPhone, and the mountain is the bank's greed. And in this moment, you should feel not just fear, but rage. Rage at yourself for letting yourself be bought so cheaply. You think the system is complex? No, it is primitive. It is built on exploiting your weaknesses. Dopamine, that is the currency for which you sell your soul. You want instant gratification. You cannot wait. You want everything right now. And the system says, sure, take it, just sign here. And you sign, not realizing you are signing a sentence for your future self. You steal from tomorrow's you to feed today's you. This is cannibalism of time. Your future self, old, tired, and possibly sick, will curse the you of today for stealing his peace for the sake of a 2-week vacation in a hotel whose name you will forget in a year. Do you feel the walls closing in? That's good, because only when you realize you are in prison do you have a chance to plan an escape. Most people live in this cell their whole life, decorating the bars with flowers and calling it coziness. They say, well, everyone has a mortgage, everyone has car loans, it's normal. Normal? Normal is what the majority does, and the majority are idiots who will end their lives on a state pension, choosing between food and medicine. Do you want to be normal, or do you want to be free? Toxic debt is not just numbers on a statement. It is a mental virus. It forces you to think in categories of scarcity. You are afraid to take risks. You are afraid to change jobs. You're afraid to open your mouth because you have obligations. You become obedient, gray, convenient, a perfect cog. And when you look at the rich and think, they just got lucky, you're lying to yourself again. They didn't get lucky. They just didn't make the fatal mistakes you make every day when you pull out your shiny plastic card. They despise liabilities. They look at luxury as a reward for victory, not as a way to appear victorious. And you? You put on a mask of success behind which hides a grimace of terror. You build a facade behind which lie ruins. And the scariest part is that you know the truth. You know it when you pay the bills, choosing which one can wait until next month. You know it when you deny yourself something important because you have to feed the car. But you continue to play this game because admitting defeat is too painful. But Charlie Munger is here to tell you, pain is medicine. Admit that you screwed up. Admit that the things you own actually own you. And only when you look this monster in the eye and call it by its name, slavery, only then can we move on to how to turn this weapon in the other direction. But are you ready to kill the consumer in yourself to give birth to the investor? Or do you like your cage too much? Now wipe your tears. Stop feeling sorry for yourself because you bought that damn TV on credit, and listen to me, because we are crossing the Rubicon beyond which childhood ends and the big game begins. You think I hate debt? You think I sit on a mountain of gold and preach total frugality? You are mistaken again, and this mistake costs you millions you will never see. I don't hate debt. I love it. But there is a nuance that separates us by a canyon the size of the Grand Canyon. You use debt to look rich, and I use debt to become rich. Do you feel the difference? No? Then let me introduce you to a concept that will make your brain explode if you have the courage to accept it. It's called leverage. Remember school physics, which you happily forgot while dreaming of prom. Archimedes said, "Give me a lever long enough and a fulcrum on which to place it, and I shall move the world." In the financial world, the fulcrum is your mind, and the lever is the bank's money. You have thought all your life that the bank's money is shackles, but what if I told you it is the only ladder capable of pulling you out of the pit? Imagine two people. Let's call the first one Cautious John. John is a good guy. He listens to his mom. He fears loans like fire. John saves money. He works for 10 years, denies himself everything, eats noodles, and saves up $100,000. He feels like a hero. He takes this money and buys an asset, say stocks or a small studio. The market grows by 10%. John makes $10,000. He is happy. He thinks he beat the system, but standing next to him is Charlie Manger. I also have $100,000, but I am not John. I am a predator. I don't buy an asset for $100,000. I go to the bank, put my $100,000 on the table as collateral and say, "Give me another $400,000. The bank, seeing my assets and my confidence, gives me the money. Now I have $500,000. I buy an asset for $500,000. The market grows by the same 10%. The asset appreciates by $50,000. Now watch my hands, because here's where the magic happens that you call fraud and I call arithmetic. John earned $10,000 on his $100,000. That's 10% per annum. I earned $50,000 on my $100,000. That's 50% per annum. I increased my efficiency fivefold without working a second longer than John. I used the bank's money as an amplifier, as steroids for my capital. John gets a safe income that barely covers real inflation. I get super profits that make me richer with every cycle. You look at this and think, but you owe the bank $400,000. That's a risk. What if the market falls? There it is, the voice of fear. You think risk is debt. I tell you that the real risk is being John. Because while John saves his next $100,000, inflation devours their purchasing power. His money melts like ice in the sun. My debt is fixed. Inflation works for me because it devalues the debt I have to pay back to the bank. I borrow expensive money today to pay back cheap money tomorrow. Do you understand this? The system is set up to destroy savings and reward debtors, but only those who possess good debt. Do you still think it's dangerous? Let's flip the situation so your head spins. You think the bank is the master of the situation? When you take a consumer loan, yes, the bank is your master. It has you by the throat. But when I take millions to buy assets, the bank becomes my partner. Moreover, it becomes my hostage. If I have problems, they are the bank's problems. We are in the same boat. And the funniest part is that the bank wants to give me this money. Banks are overflowing with liquidity. They need to shove this paper onto someone to earn their interest. They beg, "Take our money," and you refuse because you are scared? You refuse the fuel that can launch your rocket because you are afraid it will explode? Of course it will explode if you put a monkey at the helm. But we aren't here to eat bananas, are we? Leverage is the tool that divides people into those who work for money and those whose money works for them with a multiplication factor. You are trying to dig a foundation pit with a teaspoon. I bring in an excavator that I bought with the bank's money. Yes, I have to pay for the excavator rental, that's the loan interest, but the volume of work I do and the profit I extract covers the rental 10 times over. You look at me and say, it's unfair. Welcome to adulthood. Fairness does not exist. There is only the mechanics of capital. And this mechanic states, you will never, do you hear me? Never become rich using only your own resources. You simply won't have enough of them. Life is too short to get rich slowly. Get rich slowly is a slogan for losers invented by those who get rich quickly, using your money lying in deposits at ridiculous interest rates. Think about this. When you put money in a deposit, the bank pays you pennies and then takes your own money and gives it to me at a higher percentage so I can buy the real estate you will live in and pay me rent for. The circle is closed. You finance my wealth with your fear. You are the fuel in my engine. Doesn't that hurt your feelings? Doesn't a healthy anger wake up inside you? You thought the system was broken? No, it works perfectly. You are just standing on the wrong side of the conveyor belt. But here is the question that is drilling into your brain right now. Okay, you old cynic, let's say you're right. Let's say I take the bank's money. But how do I not lose everything? How do I make sure this lever doesn't break my spine? And that is the right question, because leverage is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. If you use it to buy a liability, it will kill you faster than you can blink. If the market goes against you and you have no safety margin, you are a corpse. But the secret isn't to avoid the sword, but to learn how to fence. You must find an asset that pays for this debt itself. You must find something that generates cash flow exceeding the cost of servicing the debt. And this is where most of you stumble. You look for schemes, you look for crypto, you look for lottery tickets. And I am talking about boring, concrete, tangible things. You think I'm a genius? No, I just know how to read reports. I look at the numbers and see, if I take this debt, who will pay it? Me? No. If I pay, it's bad debt. If someone else pays, it's an infinite source of money. You are standing on the threshold of a discovery that could change your entire lineage. You have your hand on the switch. Are you ready to turn on the current? Or will you pull your hand back again because what if it shocks me? I see the doubt in your eyes. You think, it's too good to be true. And you are right. Because there is a catch. There is always a catch. And this catch lies not in banks, not in interest rates, and not in the market. The catch is that to operate this machine, you need to kill the consumer in yourself and become a cold-blooded manager. Are you ready to learn exactly what this mechanism looks like in action? How exactly to force strangers to pay for your luxurious old age whilst you drink coffee? Or will you prefer to stay in the safe sandbox with a plastic shovel? Now, we have reached the very heart of the beast, the very mechanics that separate the owners of the world from its inhabitants. And I warn you, what you are about to hear might make you nauseous, because you will realize how much money you lost, simply because you didn't know the rules of the game. You look at skyscrapers, at shopping malls, at residential complexes and think, how much money is needed to build this? You're asking the wrong question, and that is exactly why you get the wrong answer. I don't have that much. The right question sounds like this: whose money was used to build this? And the answer is always the same: not theirs. No one builds with their own money. This is the law of the jungle. You think rich people buy real estate to live in it? How vulgar! We buy real estate to rent it to you. And this is where the magic begins, which I call the great financial flip. Imagine a triangle. In one corner, the bank with bags of money rotten from inflation. In another corner, the tenant, a person who needs a roof over their head but has neither the discipline nor the capital to buy it themselves. And in the third corner, you. But who are you in this scheme? You think you are an investor? No, you are a bridge. You are a diplomat who takes money from the first to solve the problem of the second and keeps all the profit for intermediation. Let's break this down to the molecular level so you have no chance to justify your poverty. I find a house. It costs $1 million. I don't have $1 million, or I do, but I'm not going to spend it. I go to the bank and borrow this $1 million. Now I have a debt of $1 million and a house worth $1 million. My balance is zero. You will say, "You didn't earn anything, old man. You just took on a huge risk." Wait, I put tenants in this house. And here happens the miracle that should make you weep from the realization of lost opportunities. I bill them for rent, say $10,000 a month. My payment to the bank on the loan is $7,000. Taxes and expenses are another $1,000. Total, they bring me $10,000, I give away $8,000. $2,000 remain in my pocket. Are you watching my hands? I got an asset worth $1 million without investing my own money. And this asset pays me $2,000 a month simply because it exists. But you will say now, but $2,000 is pennies. You're looking at the tip of the iceberg and don't see the Titanic underwater. These $2,000 are just the tips. Real wealth is created invisibly. Who pays my debt to the bank? Me? No, the tenant. Every month when he transfers the rent to me, he bites off a piece of my debt. He is buying this house for me. In 20 years, I will wake up the owner of a building worth $1 million, and with inflation, $3 million, for which I didn't pay a cent. The tenant bought me the house, paid all the interest, did the repairs, and fed me all these years on top of it. Isn't that genius? Isn't that cruel? It is capitalism in its purest form. But let's add some drama here, because you love drama. What if the tenant moves out? What if a crisis happens? You sweat at the mere thought of it, right? That is because you think like a poor person who has no safety margin. When I buy such an asset, I factor the risk into the price. I buy only what brings profit even in bad times. And even if the house stands empty for a month, I have reserves accumulated from past profits. But here is the twist that will blow your brain completely. The state is my main partner in this scheme. You pay taxes on what you earn. I pay taxes on what is left. But the state allows me to write off depreciation. They allow me to tell the tax office, my house is aging and losing value, and deduct this imaginary loss from my real income. On paper, I can show a loss and pay not a penny in taxes, while real money accumulates in my bank account. You work 4 months a year for the state. I use the state's laws, so it works for me. You call it injustice? I call it reading the tax code. You thought debt is when you owe someone? In the scheme of good debt, debt is an asset. The more debt I have, the more assets I have servicing this debt. This is a paradox that does not fit in the head of an average person. You strive to pay off your mortgage as soon as possible to Get the weight off your chest. I strive to never pay off the mortgage. Why would I return money to the bank that works for me at 3 to 4% if I can spin it at 15 to 20%? If I pay off the debt, I kill my golden goose. I freeze capital in concrete where it dies. Money must flow, it must move. Stagnation is death. Your apartment, in which you live and over which you tremble, is a liability. It takes money out of your pocket. My apartment building is an employee who works 24/7 without weekends or sick leave, and here is the most important secret bankers hide behind 7 seals. Do you know why they give money to me but refuse you or give it at extortionate rates? Because they know I use this money to create cash flow, and you use it to create a money pit. The bank is not a charity organization, it is a business partner. When I come to them with a plan for good debt, they see reliability in me. When you come to them for a consumer loan, they see desperation in you. Do you feel how your worldview is changing? Do you begin to understand that everything you knew about money was a lie designed to keep you in a cage? Good debt is a time machine. It allows you to take wealth from the future and bring it into the present. You don't wait 30 years to save for a house. You take it now and let time and inflation do the dirty work for you. Inflation is the saver's enemy, but the debtor's best friend. Every year the dollar depreciates. This means that every year I give the bank less and less real value, while rent rises along with inflation. The difference between my fixed debt and growing income is my super profit. I win in any scenario. If inflation rises, my debt melts. If the market rises, my assets appreciate. If the market falls, I buy even more because I have access to credit and you have only panic. You play checkers where every move is a risk of being eaten. I play chess where every piece is protected by another. And in the center of this defense stands His Majesty Debt, not as a master, but as a servant. Now ask yourself, the last time you took out a loan, who paid for it? You, with your sweat and blood, or the asset you bought? If the answer is me, then you are a slave. If the answer is the asset, then you are a master. And don't talk to me about risks. The biggest risk is living life working for money that is printed faster than you can earn it. You're running on an escalator going down. I just pressed the elevator button. The button is called Good Debt. The doors are opening. Are you getting in or staying to watch them close in front of your nose? Now put away your calculators, close your banking apps, and look me in the eye, because we have reached the line where mathematics ends and psychology begins, that dark matter that breaks the spines of even the smartest among you. You sit here filled with new knowledge, your eyes burning, already imagining buying skyscrapers with the bank's money, but I must pour a bucket of ice water on you before you burn your life to the ground. You think you understood the secret? You think that now, knowing the formula, you are doomed to success? What monstrous arrogance! I have seen thousands like you, enthusiasts who learned about leverage and ran to the bank thinking they were the new Rockefellers. Do you know where they are now? They live in refrigerator boxes they bought on credit. Because I didn't tell you the most important thing, the thing that makes me laugh when I see your ambitions. Debt is not a magic wand. Debt is a magnifying glass. If you are an idiot, debt will show the whole world what a phenomenal, grandiose idiot you are by magnifying the scale of your stupidity 100 times. If you have a small hole in your financial discipline, debt will turn it into a Grand Canyon into which your entire family will fall. You thought the enemy was the bank? You thought the enemy was the interest rate? I promised you the truth, and here it is, bitter as quinine. The enemy looks at you from the mirror every morning while you brush your teeth. You are the only variable in this equation that can ruin everything. The bank is predictable, the market is cyclical, inflation is inevitable. Only your human nature, greed, fear, impatience is chaos. And when you add leverage to chaos, you get a nuclear explosion. You think you are ready for good debt? Let me test your durability. What will you do when the market falls by 40%? What will you do when your tenants move out and the bank demands early repayment? Most of you will panic. You will start selling assets at the bottom, locking in losses. You will start crying and blaming the system. And precisely at that moment, my people will come and buy your assets for pennies. We feed on the panic of amateurs. Good debt in the hands of a coward instantly turns into a noose. This is alchemy for losers. You must possess not just knowledge, but the icy calm of a sniper. You must look at red numbers in a report and see not a loss of money, but an opportunity to buy even more. Do you have this backbone, or are you made of jelly? Here is the paradox that will break your brain. To use debt, you must hate debt. You must respect its destructive power just as a sapper respects explosives. If you treat credit money lightly, like free chips in a casino, you are already dead. Your body just doesn't know it yet. Rich people don't like risk. We hate risk. We use debt only when we have mathematically excluded the possibility of losing. We insure, we hedge, we create buffers. And you are ready to jump into the abyss without a parachute, hoping you'll learn to fly on the way down. You thought the finale of this story would be about you lying on the beach drinking cocktails while the bank works for you? That is a fairy tale for the poor. The reality is this: managing large debt is stress that can crush an ordinary person. It is responsibility that turns hair gray at 30. But it is the price of freedom. You must pick your poison. You can choose the poison of slow rotting and poverty, scrimping on food and fearing tomorrow. Or you can choose the poison of high pressure, where one mistake can cost everything, but where victory gives you the keys to the world. There is no third option. There is no middle ground. Those who seek the golden mean end up as the middle class, an endangered species that the system chews up and spits out. And now, as you stand at the crossroads, I want you to understand one thing. Money is neutral. It knows no good or evil. Debt is neutral. It is just a tool. A knife in the hands of a surgeon saves a life. A knife in the hands of a maniac takes it. The knife is the same. The hands are different. Who will you become? A surgeon who surgically extracts wealth from the body of the economy using other people's money as a scalpel? Or a maniac who, in a drunken stupor of consumption, stabs his own future to death? You think the choice is up to the bank? The bank will give a knife to anyone. The bank doesn't care. The choice is yours. Do you feel that chill down your spine? That isn't fear. That is the realization of responsibility. All your life you were told that debt is bad, to protect you from yourselves because society considers you children incapable of handling sharp objects. I address you as adults. I am putting a loaded weapon in your hands. I am telling you, look, this can kill the enemy, or it can shoot your leg off. And I am walking away, leaving you alone with this knowledge. No more nannies, no more excuses. If you burn out, it is your fault. If you succeed, it is your merit. Look around. Look at the houses you walk past, the offices you work in. All of this is built on debt. The whole world is a giant pyramid of obligations. You can be a brick in this pyramid, pressed down from above, or you can be the architect using the force of gravity to keep the pyramid standing. The difference is only in your head. You can continue to live in the illusion of safety, proud that you have zero debt, while inflation devours your savings like termites devour a wooden house. Or you can accept the rules of the game, enter the cage with the tiger, and ride it. I know most of you will close this video now and return to your safe, small life. You will say, "It's too risky. It's not for me." And that is good. The world needs worker bees. The world needs those who pay interest so that people like me can receive it. Your cowardice is the foundation of my wealth. Thank you for that. But I see that among you, there are those few in whose eyes an unhealthy glint has lit up. Those who understood that the risk of inaction is scarier than the risk of action. Those who are ready to stop being a victim of circumstances and become a predator of opportunity. This conversation is over. I gave you a map, a compass, and a key. But I cannot walk this path for you. The door is open. Behind it is either ruin or greatness. What will you choose? Will you stay in the warm bath of your mediocrity or dive into the icy ocean of real capitalism? I am not asking you to believe me. I am asking you to calculate. Take a calculator and calculate the price of your inaction, and then write to me who you are. Don't lie to yourself. We are all friends here. Whose side are you on in this war? Write just one phrase in the comments that will determine your destiny. I use debt, or debt uses me. I will be reading, and I will be judging. Do not disappoint me. 100.5s.